So the school was, I am Gina Halpern, and I am the founder of the Chaplaincy Institute. And the school was founded when I had a series of dreams that were totally compelling about leaving my life, which was on an island in Maine, and that I had to carry what I had learned. I've had a lot of health problems in my life over the years, and it was what I learned basically living on the other side of the veil, because I was born with a heart defect, and that changed the trajectory of my life. And I didn't want to go, but I did, because the calling that I heard some of you speak about this morning, the calling was so strong that it would not be denied. And I ended up first in Cambridge and then San Diego, and then I moved up here and started working with Matthew Fox and getting my various other degrees with him. And I try and say that in all humility, because I know many of you are like, I'm going back to school at my age, oh my dear. But I started Chi at 45, and and then I went back and did a year of CPE residency at 60. So all these things are possible. And I was teaching at JFK University, and I had made this deal with God of my understanding, that I would start this school. I had already started researching it. I looked at curriculums from CIIS and JFK, which was where I was teaching, and the GTU. I looked at every curriculum at the GTU, and I said, why create anything that is already in existence and probably better than I could do it myself? Fill all the gaps that will provide people with what they need to follow up on that calling. And what I saw was a big one was ordination and certification and support to move from the theoretical to the practical and applied. If I had my way, having worked in hospitals and in nursing homes, everybody would be taking this class. And all the classes at Chi, because they're not just about theory, they're about practice. So my deal with God was, if I hear your voice saying, this is the way, when you walk ye in it, old biblical language from Isaiah, when you turn to the right and when you turn to the left, I'm yours and I will start this school. And I thought, that's never gonna happen, right? Yeah. So with this JFK class on art and healing, I arranged through the chaplaincy department at Alta Bates to do a day of art and healing events where our students would get to see how the practice of art really affected people in clinical situations. Granted, they couldn't go into rooms, but there were plenty of people wandering about who were in varying degrees of, let's face it, you walk into a hospital, and Jennifer Block, one of our early Buddhist teachers at End of Life, said, believe that every person who walks in the door of a healthcare facility is in a state of crisis. They or a family member are in a state of crisis, and regardless of what their culture, faith, tradition, the human condition is of fear and suffering. So I wanted people to understand that, and I arranged to have a 35-foot portable labyrinth brought in. If you haven't walked the one next door, I encourage you to do so, and there'll be a labyrinth walk coming up. And we created prayer flags in the lobby, and we went in, and 4 of us sang chants from around the world for 3 hours. Now chanting, any chanters in here? chanting will take you to elevated states. And patients walked, and nurses walked, and physicians walked, and family members and visitors. It was really a marvelous experience. And at the end of all that, it got quiet, and they were closing up, and I walked the labyrinth, and it was late afternoon, big windows like this. I walked to the center of the labyrinth, and I heard this voice saying, "This is the way when you walk ye in it, turning to the right and turning to the left, because that's what the labyrinth is." And I was like, oh, you know, what it, and then the voice said, "This is the work that I have given you to do, to bring together art, spirituality, and healing. Now go forth and bring together fabulous people, great program, and make it available." And that's what I did. I stepped out of that circle and I began making phone calls. And here we are today, 20 years later, 2 decades. We've worked with the Parliament of World Religions. The Chaplaincy Institute is recognized by the Association of Professional Chaplains. That was a big deal. We have ordained, you know, at the time this started, it was still hard for women to get ordained. It was hard for members of the LGBTQ, now IA, and there's some other letters, community, to get ordination. And that to me felt really, we want to talk about social injustice, that felt unjust in the face of what people were gifted to do, to bring into the world to serve. So here we are, here you are, and bless each and every one of you on this path. Lauren was in the very first class at Chi. This is where she is today. We were talking about this the other day. Her resume from an untraditional institution is outstanding. And she and all the members of our community, many of whom are faculty, many of whom have gone on to work in hospice and spiritual care and education, in global issues, in mentorship. It happens here. Whatever your dream, your unique ministry is, the door is open for you. This is that special place that's been calling for, you said, almost 20 years. Well, maybe now's the time. And I just want to speak about the time for me. I left that island in Maine, which was my spiritual home, because I heard a calling. And I've heard the calling to go back. And I will be moving at the end of this month to go back to Maine, to live in the town of Newcastle, near Damerscott, between Portland and Deer Isle, to swim in the Damerscott mill pond, and to reconnect, to have windows in an apartment that look out onto tidal waters, to be able to watch the sun come up and the moon go down from my windows. I'm so happy to be doing this, but I'm also grieving that I'm going to be missing Chi, both in person and the virtual Chi, which I've always felt was part of what needed to happen. So my doors are still open. You can still come up at lunch and visit in I call it the Magical Kingdom. It has been my gift and my blessing to be with so many Chi people over the years. And thank you for entrusting the goodness of your own gifts and blessings to this school, to help build and guide you along your life's journey. And I thank Chi for doing that for me as well. And I don't know what the next phase will look like, but I'm planning on taking my whole self with me. And that used to be the Chi motto. Whatever you've suffered, whatever you've celebrated, our doors are open for you to bring your whole self with you to the great work. So, blessings all. Blessings. And thanks.